Miss Judy on the radio, building dreams and achieving more, telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Well, good morning and welcome to another hour of the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. I am Dr. Judy, a Real Talk host, and I want to thank you so very much for tuning in with me again. You know, I always appreciate you coming back every Tuesday to see me and to be with me. I absolutely take it personal. I do take it personal that you would give me an hour of your time to empower, inspire, motivate, and empower you into your next leadership level, your next educational enhancement, or whatever it shall be. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I would like for you to do me a favor while I do this little introduction. If you would, go ahead and contact, share, and tag your people, email them, text them. If you're driving, don't do it, all right? If you're driving, pull over and then do it, okay? I want you to ride wherever you're going to live. I don't want you to tell anybody that Dr. Judy told me to go ahead and get the people now. Pull over, all right, and do that thing. But I want to thank you again for tuning in with me, your people architect and your Real Talk with Judy host. And again, to all of you who join me, I don't know what it looked like in Tallahassee, where you are, but in Tallahassee, it really is a beautiful Tuesday, May 21st morning. It really is. It's amazing how weather changes so much after the storm. We go through cloudy, beautiful, and everybody don't know what to expect now. I think Tallahassee, we had our first tornado, and now we know when the weather gets cloudy, we don't know if it's going to be a tornado. But I know one thing I'm going to do from now on, Miss Priscilla. I'm going to move that Mercedes somewhere where there's no trees, okay? For the first time since I had that car, I parked it in that area. Never parked. My neighbor said, Judy, when I saw your car, I'm like, oh my gosh, she never parks there. He said, because I check it every night. So anyway, but we got some beautiful weather today. It's very beautiful today. So whether you're joining me via radio, Hallelujah 95.3 FM, Facebook Live, YouTube, or the Hallelujah app, and those of you who are outside of Tallahassee, I want to say thank you. Miss Brenda, it is good to see you on here again. I know that you're about to do about 50 or so tag and shares. I want you to know I greatly, greatly appreciate that. You don't have to, but you do, and I thank you for doing it. So while you all are doing that, texting and emailing and tagging and sharing, I am going to say hello to my mama, Mother Dr. Irma Hunter Wesley, who's in Fort Lauderdale. And every time before I come on the show, she wants to know who you got on the show. She's seen a flyer, but she wants me to tell her who I have coming on the show. So I told her my guest today was Priscilla and Kayla. She said, oh, they so beautiful. And they so beautiful. And so we want to thank you, Mama, for how long have I been doing this? 8 years. She has been on and giving me feedback. So I want to thank you, Mama. I got an opportunity to spend a little bit of time with her. 3 days, actually. And you know what? I keep forgetting that I came on. I've been on since the storm, haven't I? Yeah, I've been on since the storm. I'm thinking this is the first day. And see that? The storm got my mind all twisted up. I have been on before. Anyway, y'all, thank you for praying for my mother. Continue her in your prayer. And to my awesome husband, Superintendent Pastor Dr. Jeremiah Drell, he is the senior pastor of Life Changers. I want to thank him so very much, for he is the reason I get to do what I do without any problems whatsoever. And to one of the most amazing women in production and marketing, this Priscilla John Lewis. She is the director of our marketing team, but she is She is phenomenal. She's phenomenal. And she happened to be one of the guests today. All right. So she's three multitasking. I don't know what we call that, triotasking.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because she's a journalist. And take that back to your journalist. She's a journalist. So, and she's going to be making up words too. She's going to be making up words too. But that's what they're going to have to do out there on the road. And I'm going to introduce her in a few minutes. Y'all know Caitlin, y'all know Priscilla. All right. But I am honored to have them on my show today. They work so much behind the scene in helping produce this show. Priscilla works so behind the scene, and sometimes she has to ask Kaylin. Sometimes Kaylin has to do it, and I appreciate both of you all for the work that you give to Real Talk with Judy. I do, and Life Changes. Y'all, they just work. Kaylin, I'm going to introduce Kaylin because my favorite part of Kaylin, I'm going to tell the whole world today. I may have shared it when she was on here before, but I'm going to share it today. My favorite part, one of my favorite parts, and Priscilla already know what I'm going to say. So, but y'all, I want to thank both of you all for what you do in helping this show to be productive and effective, and also life changes. We thank you all so very much. Again, you all, we are recovering from this tornado. People are still needing food. People are still without electricity, power. People still are. A lot of us still don't have internet in our area, the Indian Head Acres area, the Pontiac area, all of those areas over there, we do not have internet at all. So I thank God for McDonald's. McDonald's has internet, and you could go use it free. You could go use Starbucks free, and you'll find you a free place. And one day, all of us sitting up there plugged in, right? We didn't want anything to eat. We just wanted the internet, and they were so kind to us. And I want to say to Tallahassee, you are some kind people. Yes. You really are. We have our issues. And I tell people, Caitlin and Priscilla, there's no place, no one that don't have issues. If you got people, you got issues. And they're not all bad. Sometimes you just got to get understanding. And we have our problems as a city. But when we get into trouble, we come together. We really do. And we want to thank Tallahassee. You all have been showing up like crazy. But that's what we do, right? So we're going to get into today's lesson. Discussion. Like I'm teaching Bible study, right? We're going to get into today's discussion. And as I said, both of y'all know my guests, and y'all know that they're very special to us at Life Changes and to Pastor and I individually. Priscilla is the executive director of K&D Creative Designs, and she probably helped a whole lot of us be executive director by helping us put our stuff together. But we're so glad that she's doing her own thing, making her dreams and stuff come true. But her heart has become my favorite girl in Alzheimer's. And so she's going to talk to us about that today. I'm so honored to have she and Kaylin on here. But Priscilla has taken on a role that we're gonna talk about today. And Priscilla, welcome to the Real Talk with Judy show.
Thank you so very much for having me, Dr. Judy, myself and Kaylin. So glad to be on the show today. And you are absolutely correct. My passion is my favorite girl in Alzheimer's. That is my heart.
Yeah. And we're glad that you're going to tell us a whole lot today. And I know that we're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot. And we're going to, because I've learned a lot since you've been going through this. And I just want to thank you. Then we have her daughter, who is Kaylin John Lewis. That's her baby girl. Her oldest daughter lives in Orlando doing her own thing. She's doing her thing as well. So you have done a great job with your girls. But this is what I want y'all to know, America. America, the whole America. And the people from Scotland and all of them will be joining in a little while. So all across the world, this is what I want y'all to know about Kaylin. So when Kaylin was born, she was born and with the umbilical cord. Am I right, Priscilla? On her neck?
Around her neck.
Around her neck. But they thought it was going to hinder her speech or something. So when she came out, that girl ain't stopped talking yet. she's still talking. She's been talking since birth. But you know what I love about it? She has broken a lot of records. She's only 20, 19?
18. Will be 19 this year.
See that she accomplished so much, but still I'm pushing her up in age, right? She's only 18. She's only 18.
Right.
Wow. She'll be 19.
This year, yes, ma'am.
And I really thought, okay, I'm gonna put her at 20. But anyway, she's 18. But y'all, she's gonna tell us some things about herself. But she is the executive director of Caden's Caring Connection. And she's been that for about 4 years.
Going on 8 years. Actually, we started in 2016.
Yep.
It's the 8th year.
It's been 8 years?
Yes, ma'am.
8 years. 8 years. She's 18. She started when she was 10. But there's a lot of stuff she's done. And she's the host of her own radio show, Inspiring Moments with Kaylin, right here on Hallelujah 95.3 FM. She's in her last part of her junior, senior year, something like that at FAMU. She's on 90.5, which is part of the journalism
Yes, ma'am.
program.
WANM FM.
WANM FM 90.5. Now, when we was in school, that was the station. That in 1410, I think, over there with Joe Willard and all of those. But Kendra, what's the name of your show over there?
It's called Feel Good Vibes and Motivation.
That comes on from 4 to 6.
Yes,
Every
ma'am.
Tuesday. How do I know? 4 to 6. Every Tuesday. I've learned some new songs from 4 to 6. Kendra, we are, and y'all, she's done so much. I want to welcome Kaylin John Louis to my show in this capacity.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Judy. I'm happy to be back. I think this is my 3rd time. So I'm just honored to be a part of the platform and just happy that we can be here to talk about this cause today.
Y'all hear that? She's 18. Oh, that was a good speech. Now, I just love to hear. So we're going to get started, Priscilla and Kaylin. And to those of you who are listening, I really want you to take heart in this. I really do want you to take heart in this. I want you to listen. Kaylin is going to talk a little bit. They both going to talk a little bit about themselves. And I want Kaylin also, as she's talking about herself, to talk about the youth caregiver part that you've done as well. So let's start with your baby girl, Priscilla, and then I'll come back and let you introduce yourself. Is that okay?
Me.
All right. Kaylin, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. As Dr. Judy said, my name is Kaylin John Louis, and I am a 3rd-year broadcast journalism scholar at the Florida A&M University. I also am the host of the Inspire Moments with Kaylin radio show, and I'm just honored to be able to use my voice to really bridge the gap between my generation and older generations, really be able to be the voice that others can hear. I am honored to be able to serve as a student, as a daughter, but my greatest role of late that I love to be in is a youth caregiver because my grandmother has done so much. I think everybody who knows the name Vera Johnson, they think of her being a seamstress, of how much she just genuinely cared for people and still does, how much she loves God. And so I'm happy that even in her latter part of her years with dementia, that I'm able to serve her and be able to make sure that she's okay, because she did that our entire lives, made sure we were good. And I'm just happy that I'm able to do that. Even being in the journey with her as a youth caregiver has completely changed our relationship in a sense, because it went more from grandmother to granddaughter relationship to more of a caregiver to loved one relationship. And I get to see her in another light than I haven't seen. I know there's other people in my family, of course, who got more of her as a grandmother, more of her as a mom, more of her as an aunt. But I've been able to see her as someone I can care for, a loved one, and my grandmother all wrapped in one, and be able to be there for her and care for her in those times.
Wow. That is amazing, Kaylin, because I watched you. I watched you as a child with your mom. And one of the things I think, okay, there's another thing that I admire so much about you. And she already knows all this stuff because I tell her. I've texted her before and all of that because, we are super proud of you. But one of the things that, and Priscilla, and I'm sure you have this to the degree way higher than I do, is that her unselfish love and care as a child that she gave to her grandmother, her great grandmother, but even at time wanted you to rest.
Yeah.
I mean, as a child,
Yeah.
as a child, she wanted you to rest, missing games and stuff, not because she had to, because you wasn't making her do this.
Right.
She did it on her own. And to watch you, Kaylin, that's why you're blessed. I believe that. That's why but God promised your mom that he was going to bless you. But your unselfish love towards your grandmother, your mom, your great grandmother at a young age, you don't find that often.
Not at all.
And then do me a favor, Kaylin, talk about, and Priscilla, I'm coming to you right next because y'all got to get on this together. But Kaylin, talk about how your love and your care then went out to the young people in the city who perhaps were caregivers as well.
Yes, ma'am. I started because, like you said, even with my journey being a caregiver, it started at home. I always would help my mom out, whether that was washing dishes, making sure that the food was good, transporting my grandmother and my great grandmother back and forth to the restroom, doing those daily tasks, helping them. But then I realized that there's probably a lot more people and a lot more youth who are either locally or abroad who just simply don't have those people to support them. We luckily have a village of people that are there to step in, are there to check in, provide meals, but there's so many youth. I think there's about 5.8 million youth caregivers in America, not even listed in the world, who are caring for loved ones who may not have support, whether that's a sibling, whether that's a family member, and they may be affected by Alzheimer's, they may be dealing with another disease, but they don't have anyone. They don't necessarily have that support. And I wanted to be able to change that in Tallahassee. So I was able to extend a component of my organization to create the Youth Care 2 movement, where I was able to not just offer support, but also celebrate and highlight other caregivers. And so it started off with just soliciting from the public, hey, do you know anybody who's a youth caregiver, looking within my school, trying to see if there were any kids in Leon County who were also caring for someone. And once we got that list together from donations from the public and being able to fundraise, we were able to provide them just some tokens of love, and be able to publicly recognize them for their sacrifices, because it does take a lot. And even with that, it's really just expanded over the years. I know I was able to speak with Florida High and hope to continue to push this forward in Leon County. But even when it comes to service hours for schools, there are students who get service hours for extracurricular activities. They join clubs. They're able to get out in the community, but you really can't do that if you're home and you're caring for a loved one. And so I took that to the school to kind of let them know, is it a way for youth caregivers to get service hours for the caring that they're doing, because they're doing an adult task all day, every day. They're stepping out of the way every single day to care for someone else. And so at Florida High, I was able to get that in motion, where they're able to sign their service hours and get those community service hours to graduate, have them count as their caring hours. And I'm hoping to keep that going in Tallahassee.
Wow. I mean, she's just amazing. And Priscilla, a lot of this comes from you. The way you serve and the way you give, your unselfish heart. I mean, and both of y'all still serve life changers. Even with your grandmother and your great grandmother, the work didn't stop. You still went to school and graduated with honors, and you graduated TCC before you graduated high school. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she graduated TCC before she graduated high school, helping her mom, still taking care of her grandmother and stuff. And also before she started really getting into the Alzheimer's, remember Priscilla, she was giving away, collecting teddy bears?
Yeah.
Then Priscilla had a homeless shelter before you could eat Thanksgiving dinner and all that kind of stuff. I would have snuck me a piece of turkey wing and gone on out there with y'all. But Caitlin and Priscilla, the way you train your children of giving but not just talking, but showing them. Let's introduce the mama, because I am a believer that you become a product of what's at home. I believe that with all my heart. I really do. And then sometimes people start writing these fantasy stories to get out of what's home. But Priscilla, we want to thank you all for really pointing to your daughter, not your daughters. Now give a little background. Tell us a little bit about you, Priscilla.
Absolutely. So again, I am Priscilla Jean Louis. I am the founder of My Favorite Girl in Alzheimer's, and I think what has become even more, I am Kaylin's mother because everywhere I go, that's how I.
And I'm so sorry. 'Cause that's just what I said too, didn't I? I am so sorry.
It's perfectly okay. I have absolutely no shame about it. It's actually an honor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
most people, that's why you're Kaylin's mama. Absolutely, I am Kaylin's momager. But I am what I've self-coined as well as other people. I am an inspirational caregiver. And with that, that is my mission and my goal is to inspire other caregivers that they, as my motto said, can keep going, keep pushing, keep loving, and by all means keep caring. Simply because we have so many people who aren't selfless. There's so many selfish people. And then the other side of that is caregiving. It's not an easy task. And so my goal is to inspire as many people as I can to care, just to simply care. And that did come from my mom. That's all of who she has always been. Even my grandmother, we had both my mom and my grandmother at the same time. But all of what I knew about caring and giving to people came from the two of them. And I mean, even right now, and Kaylin said it earlier, my mom, even at times in her demented state, she wants to give away everything. If she's eating, she's going to ask you, you want some, but that's how she's always been. Will feed anybody, I remember one time she was working at the mall because she's a seamstress, was a seamstress. And there's a lady that came in the mall that told her she liked her skirt that she had on. And she knew this lady from nobody, not, and took the lady to her house, took the skirt off, and gave the skirt. I mean, I fussed for a little bit because I'm like, you can't just bring strangers to the house and you don't tell me what to do. But that's just who she has always been. You can come to the house, get a meal. She would cook and cook and cook, and people come by, and so that's just who she's always been. Something that, and I watched her take care of her mom. Her mom had Alzheimer's as well. And so she brought her down to live with us right around the same age as Kaylin. I was about 10 when my grandmother came to live with us. And I watched her and the sacrifices that she made, even for my grandmother. I mean, getting up early in the morning, making sure that we were ready for school, and, having to watch my grandmother at the same time. And then my grandmother was a lot more aggressive than she is, but literally every day, I don't remember a day that we were in town that my mom, when she had to put her in a nursing home, she went to the nursing home every single day to make sure that she was dressed, make sure her hair was done before she went to work. And then after she got off from work, went back. And so I watched that, growing up. And so it's kind of a natural part of who I became. Same way, just like Kaylin, just always helping. And, so that's been a huge part of my life. And I'm just thankful that, that part of her legacy passed on to myself as well as my children.
And I want to thank you all so very much for what you do and give to your mom and to your grandmother before she passed, your grandmother and your great grandmother before your great grandmother had come on the path. Just watching the sacrifices, and I've learned through watching you, watching my sister, Dr. Therese, watching you all so unselfishly. I think that's why when you all ask me to do something, I do my best to do it because number one, I admire and pray for you all the time because I know it's not an easy job. I know it. And so Priscilla, you often tell, I mean, I even did it when I was getting ready for the flight, I think. I said caretaker. And you said, can I change that to caregivers opposed to caretakers? Tell me the difference. What's the difference between a caregiver and a caretaker? Talk to us about that.
I think because ultimately we give care. We don't take, from, and I also hear in my head, when what is it with the funeral home? I just don't like caretaker, but we give care, in the same sense when you think about, I believe, and it's what I base everything off of, that God himself was the greatest caregiver that there is. And I'm like, he always gave to us. And so we give that same type of care to our loved ones. I'd like to call it serving as well, and it's a service that we get to give, but to be able to just give that care to them, we're not taking it away. We're giving of ourselves. We're giving of our love. We're giving of our sacrifice and our time to the persons that we are taking care of. And so that's why I'm like, I like caregiver as opposed to care. People say that all the time, caretaker. I think an undertaker.
I know. Can you add?
I know that for you, there's different terms too, because even when you look it up, you may see caregiving youth or youth caregiver. I tend to go back and forth between the both of them. I like youth caregiver in front of it only because of the fact that you see caregiver, but of course, when you put youth in front of it, it has much more of an impact. And I just kind of agree with what my mom said. We give a lot. We do all that we can to make sure that they are always a primary concern, that she's always taken care of above all else. And so that's why we give care, and that's why we are caregivers.
Yeah, and I thought I looked at it after you text me back, Priscilla, and I said caregiver. Yeah, I said I understand giver, caretaker, taker, and I did think about the undertaker. I did think about that because you all aren't taking anything away from anyone you care for. You're giving life to them. You're giving hope and just watching them and seeing what's going on. It's a giving thing, and so I appreciate that. Now y'all help me with this. And Maria Smith said, "Amazing women," and we thank you because you're an amazing son
Yes.
to me. You're an amazing son to me. You heard God dad, and so, but you're an amazing son to me. You're an amazing God dad to her. All right. So, hello, Minister Lockley and Tanya and Jones Thunder, and to everybody who's coming on here. Thank you all so very much. We greatly appreciate it. Y'all tell me the difference, or tell me, because oftentimes, and I did too, I'm learning better by talking with you all. But it used to be a time in everyday conversation, people would say, use Alzheimer and dementia interchangeably. And they, she has Alzheimer, they got dementia. It's Alzheimer's, dementia. Give us the meaning or the difference between Alzheimer and dementia.
So when you look at it, dementia is like the umbrella, right? It's an umbrella that all the other, you got Alzheimer's, you have vascular dementia, you have frontal lobal dementia, there's a Lewy body, there's several other types of dementia. So dementia is actually the umbrella where everything else falls. Alzheimer's is the most diagnosed form of dementia. So dementia and Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Exactly. So Alzheimer's would be the umbrella that it falls up under. There's several different types of dementia.
Yes.
Alzheimer's is just the one that's most diagnosed.
And they all have their different effects when it comes to parts of the mind, because they interfere with daily life, all forms of dementia. Because I know that even in the past, how they used to diagnose it, they would say that it was maybe an older age disease and that it only affected the older populations and generations. But there's even early onset Alzheimer's, there's early onset dementia, there's different forms. And so they affect all ages. It doesn't go far. A lot of people thought that it was mainly hereditary. Now they're looking at different foods that people eat. There's just a lot of different things that go into dementia and Alzheimer's that we all really have to take care of. Certain aspects of us, it does help for people to learn about their family history and to learn if it runs in there, because I've heard people who have had it in their family and it goes to them, or even they've never heard of dementia before, and it just ends up, whether it's from the food we eat, the different hormones that are in the food, it's all kind of composed, like my mom said, under this big umbrella. And they kind of, a lot of people like to use them interchangeably, but there are different types.
So Alzheimer, okay, you just stated it's not just for the age anymore. Because there was a time, right, that it was just, well, it's probably never been just for the age, but when we thought that it was old age, because I think that we used to put Alzheimer's
Now,
see now, that's the word I've been looking for 4 days.
no.
See now, that's what we used to say,
Right.
right?
Right.
They're see now, but and then we attached it with old age, correct? Am I right?
Exactly. And it is not a normal part of aging. People think that it is, but it is not a normal part of aging. And so, that's how I looked at it prior to, even though there were several, so there is a genetic factor. There is a genetic factor. And unfortunately, our family appears to have that genetic side of it, because we're talking about my mom, both of her parents. So my grandmother that lived with me, and I have to not really correct it, but help people to understand, she was my grandmother by love. Okay. And so we got her by love, but my mom's mom and dad, they both had Alzheimer's. Both my mom's sisters, who have both passed away within the last 3 years, they both had it. And right now, in addition to my mom, she also has 3 brothers who also have it right now as well. So out of all of her siblings that are living, there's only 2 right now who don't have it. And so that is definitely a genetic factor in there. And so growing up, because we saw it, because it was there in our family, I just thought like everybody else, like, okay, when you get old, this is what happens to you. And so not really realizing that, no, it's not a normal part of aging. And so there are different factors. Time probably won't allow for us to go into all of them, but there are different factors that, just like with anything else, when you talk about high blood pressure, you talk about diabetes, some of these other underlying issues, heart disease, some of these same things also affect, when it comes to Alzheimer's. And the thing about Alzheimer's as well is you can have, so what happens with Alzheimer's, there's what they call amyloid plaques. And I often describe it to people. And when you think about plaque, that's on your teeth, right? There's a form of, there's an amyloid plaque that forms on the brain. And research has shown that these plaques can start to form up to 15 years prior to you having one symptom of Alzheimer's. And so, that's a whole nother thing right there, right? And so, in addition to that, we are also now starting to see cases of early onset Alzheimer's, early onset dementia. What is early onset? People that are being diagnosed 65 and younger.
Wow.
So you have people that I spoke with a lady who called me a couple weeks ago who mentioned to me that she had a sister-in-law who happened to be a twin. They were in their 40s. I think she said 44, 45 years old, where the sister had Alzheimer's. Matter of fact, she passed away in January of this year. So there's a lot of early onset cases now. You have COVID that happened. And so that brain fog that they talk about with COVID, that has led to even more cases of dementia. So it's not just old people that are, coming down or being diagnosed with it. There are also some younger people as well.
There's race. Race is another thing that plays a big part in it too, because I know that there's a lot of diseases that affect minorities a lot more. Like my mom said, whether that's high blood pressure or cholesterol issues, but the facts say that older Black Americans are twice as likely to have Alzheimer's, and that older Hispanics are about 1.5 times as likely to have it as well. I don't know if it's really just a genetic thing or simply because of the minority aspect, but it does go into, of course, dieting and how much we care about our bodies and different things like that. But there's so many different types of reasons why people get Alzheimer's and reasons why they're diagnosed. And I think especially for our minority community, it's so important that we look into that early rather than waiting, because there's so many different things, whether you can fully avoid it. Because I know even when it comes to Alzheimer's now, they're working and still trying to find a cure. They're working to get different drugs. I love this word. I don't know why it's so funny to me, but I was actually doing an essay in class because they were trying to come up with a medicine called aducanumab that was supposed to be a type of disease, a type of medication that would kind of slow down the disease and slow down the depression.
How do you pronounce it?
Aducanumab.
Right.
And the thing is, even with that, it is there, right? So there are different medications that they have come up with. The issue with the medications is cost, just like it is with a whole lot of stuff. The pharmaceutical industry is, people like to make money off of it more than help people. And so the drug is there. The only thing too with that drug is it's designed for people who are in the earlier stages. So if you're in a later stage of Alzheimer's, the drug doesn't really have as much of an effect. And so what they were looking to do is those people who are in the earlier stages, be able to give them that drug to see what the difference would. They do have cases where people did become better, but then it became an issue of cost. And so they make it so high that people can't afford to even get the drug, even though it's out there.
Wow.
So, and that's the pharmaceutical industry, unfortunately, not just with Alzheimer's, but with a whole lot of different
things. A whole lot of drugs. So is there not a cure for Alzheimer's?
There is no cure. That is what the research is all about. Right now, there's no cure. There's things that you can do to kind of slow it down. Kaylin talked about the exercising. We don't like the exercise, but it's important. Walking helps, running, all of that helps to build brain cells. It helps your brain cells to grow. And so when we don't exercise and we don't take advantage of those things, especially when we're at a higher risk, because African Americans are at a higher risk. And then when you add, as she stated, women, 2 times greater risk.
Yes.
If you're African American and you're an African American woman, your risk is even higher than others.
And then when you have all those and all those other factors like high blood pressure, and overweight, we add all that to it and make the chances more. This is my first time really hearing that, because I never knew that those different factors would cause such a problem, even with Alzheimer's.
Vitamin D deficiencies, and I have to be careful with that because my vitamin D level is low. But vitamin D deficiency, that's another thing. All of that can lead to it.
We need to get back in the sun some more. I got to tell Pastor we got to go to the beach. Go lay out on the sun at least 3 times a week. So that won't become a problem. But this is interesting because we have, so we got weight, we got genetic. Can you get, what kind of test can you do to determine your risk of getting Alzheimer's?
I think now they recently started a biomarker that they've been able to look at, I believe, where they can kind of see if you have a biomarker, a certain gene. I believe, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, for Alzheimer's. And so they're trying to get more testing and trying to make sure that people who are younger, even if you know it's in your family, to do that biomarker testing early so you can kind of look at the different factors, even making sure that you're taking care of your body 10 times more so that you're able to either fight it off or be able to kind of determine it. It really is. It's kind of like most diseases when you see people in your family, if they have certain genes for a specific thing, it kind of can pass down. And so I know they have that biomarker testing moms or anything else.
Yeah, there is biomarker testing. They are now looking at blood testing where they can actually determine from your blood. So that's another way that they are also looking. I think the factor becomes, it was funny, my brother was over here last week, my mom's birthday. And so we mentioned, my sister-in-law mentioned, about the screening, because there's also screenings that can be done to kind of let you know. So my brother's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I think that becomes an issue as well, right? Because even with my mom and her, when she was first diagnosed, one of the things that I asked her doctor, like, hey, is there some type of testing that we can do to find out, where we are with it? And he did tell me, yeah, there is some testing. He said, but I wouldn't do it. And when I inquired as far as why, he said, well, look at it like this. He said, if I go and I test you now, and if it came back showing that there were traces, you're going to worry yourself to death.
You are.
Thinking that. And I'm like, and I often teeter between the two because, at 49, you don't want to think about that, right? You don't want to think about whether or not you have it. You see it, and
Right.
then you're a caregiver and you're in it every single day. Because I battle with that, just on a personal level and thinking, okay, would I want my children to have to care for me on this level? Because we might make it seem simple, but it's hard. it's difficult. And so you think about that when you are experiencing some of the different behaviors that come with it. But I tell people, because there are different clinical trials that they do. And I encourage everybody. I'm actually looking at a few that I'm going to be taking part in. And I know that for us as African Americans, we're like, I know my attitude used to be, no, I'm not being anybody's guinea pig, right? I think the Tuskegee experiment messed most of us up.
Right.
But what people have to realize is it's not just medication, right? The clinical trials don't just involve medication. There are some clinical trials that involve exercise. There's some that involve sleep, because sleep is another factor that leads to Alzheimer's. When you lack sleep, when you're not getting proper rest, that also increases your risk. And so there are a lot of different clinical trials out there that we can take part in. And not only can we take part in them, we should take part in them. Whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's cancer, because what happens is when they're doing the research, if the only people that are part of the clinical trials are the ones that don't look like us, they're not going to be able to help us, because how does this affect African Americans? How does
so hold on right there. I just thought about that when you made that point. That could be very well why there's not a lot of cure for other, like sickle cell and different things, because a lot of African American, we don't participate in research.
We don't.
I haven't thought about that. That could be a vital point why we don't have any answers.
Absolutely.
To help with these diseases that there's no cure for.
Yeah. We don't want to take part in it, but the only way, because like for me, I think about my children, right? Because that risk is there. What can I do so that it doesn't pass? I mean, God knows we cancel this at the root on my level. Yeah. But, you have to think about your children, your grandchildren, because it continues to just go, from generation to generation. If we ignore it, if we don't take part, a lot of times, even when it comes down to talking about it, I tell people when I'm talking to them, we have to kill this, what goes on in the house stays in the house mentality. because of the fact that we're never going to get the proper help if we don't acknowledge that there's an issue. It's not just that mama don't remember certain things. When it gets to a point where, I mean, all of us misplace our keys every now and then. All of us misplace some things, right? But when it gets to a point where it's starting to affect your daily life, you have to step back and say, what's going on? You got to ask those questions. And sometimes, especially when you're in the earlier stages of dementia, you can function. You know, you can function in the earlier stages for years, for, you know.
Hold it right there, Priscilla. We're not going to give them all over today. And we want them to, we got a plan that this is a teaser. This is a teaser. So we're not going to give them everything today. Y'all giving us some good information, but this show is a prerequisite to something that we really want to happen, right? So right before that happened, though, Caitlin, I want you to, because even watching my sister and Kiera, my niece, the sacrifices, and I think both of you all mentioned earlier, it's not just Alzheimer's, it's the caregiving. That caregiving is something else, especially when you sacrifice your life. I have come to really understand and realize how sacrificial you all are doing. Caitlin, I want you to talk about this. You were young. Priscilla, did you say 10 when she started taking care?
It's been
Like
10
10 or
years.
11?
My mom's so 12.
And so, Caitlin, you hadn't seen any of that type of stuff in the house. Your mom was okay, your dad was okay, your sister was okay, none of that. And then your grandmother or your great-grandmother comes, and she comes experiencing different things. Then you see your grandmother. I don't know how to do this. Start with the challenges of the symptoms of Alzheimer's. I guess I'm saying that correctly.
Signs. Yep.
What symptom?
I say the signs.
The signs. So you're young, if you can remember, because you're older than 18, but you have accomplished so much. Can you remember what you thought or how you felt seeing this?
I think for the first few years, especially when there were the small signs, because I know my mom, she shared with me this later, but I mean, when you're little, I was 10, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I mean, I was going to school, coming back home. And I know that there were times when my mom mentioned that, oh yeah, Granny wandered off today. Or she wanted to go, we had to take the engine out the car because she wanted to try to drive. But
Cables, not the engine, the battery.
Cables.
I'm about to say, y'all definitely want your mom to go know.
They disconnected the cables because driving became a thing that wasn't something she could do anymore safely. And so I think for me, it started off with more so confusion because I only knew what my mom told me or what I saw. I didn't really fully understand everything until I decided to research myself. That's how I operate. If I don't know something, I'm gonna look it up and try to learn it so I can better understand it. And knowing that I was going to be living in the house with my grandmother, I didn't want to be living in the house and not have any knowledge about it. Okay. I didn't want to not be able to help. So I think it started off with confusion, but then the more and more I learned, it definitely is something that is a high and low. Seeing your grandmother and great grandmother kind of deteriorate right in front of you can be difficult because I know that there's always times, even regular people can relate to me. You don't see your family that often. You're like, I miss my family. But especially when you're watching them go through the disease, you miss the role the person you're caring for was in. Sometimes for my mom, Sanford, I say, like, sometimes I just want to talk to my grandmother, you know, or sometimes we just want to have that conversation or that hug, or we get advice from her, we get counsel, and it's not something that we can do. Because she's not going to be able to communicate that. And so even throughout all the years of being able to see everything, I had to get used to, okay, this is your new normal. This is how you have to reroute. You kind of have to go where she is, make sure that she's okay. And of course, the emotions came here and there. But through it all, I think it's been just knowing that even through it all, there's still those small happy moments where she still tells the both of us throughout the day, or she'll come up to be like, I love you, or she'll give us a hug, or she'll give us a kiss, and we can still feel that relationship together.
Man, listen, y'all. They got a lot to say. Okay, I want her to bring that in, but now I want you all to take the next few minutes because we want you all to come to the 1 day conference about Alzheimer. We want you there. There's a whole lot of information. I gave you a little teaser today so you can feel it and that you want to ask questions, you want to know more because they gave us a lot today. You all, let's invite the people to the Alzheimer Awareness and Education 1 day conference. Go.
Yes, we have our Alzheimer's and Awareness Conference that will be happening on June 22nd from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Destiny Church. And we are looking forward to having people come. It's going to be a day filled to equip the church and just people in the community with resources and tools that they need to be able to understand Alzheimer's. Because if we don't understand things, we're able to, or we do things that don't make sense. We fall for things that we shouldn't. And so we have to equip ourselves and we have to really be in the know. And so that's the whole purpose of this event. We want to be able to have people come out. You're getting information from different vendors that will be there. There are going to be tables with information and different things that you can get. We're going to have a panel discussion where you'll be able to hear from real-time people, their experience with caregiving and their experience just with Alzheimer's as a whole. We really want it to be an event where people can come to learn, they can come to meet other people who are in the community as well, who are dealing with that, because support is a big thing when we can come together and everybody can relate to each other in that sense. And we just want it to be a big pack day where everybody can get necessary tools they need to really fight this disease.
Yeah. And one of the main reasons why we're doing this, because I've had this platform for a number of years, I have people that contact me all the time asking for resources and how did you get this or where do I start? And so, a lot of those people have been people out of church because that's where we're highly involved. And so I have more people from the church that contact me as well. And so because I don't have the capacity to go to every church, what we decided to do is we may not have the capacity to go to 50 churches, but we can do our best to bring 150 churches together, the pastors, the members, and be able to bring them in the same space with these agencies and organizations that have the information so that they're in the same space with them and they're getting this information. So we have we have Acts 2 that's coming. We have Alzheimer's Project, Big Ben Hospice, TMH Memory Disorder Clinic. They will also be on site doing free brain scans. So, memory screenings. And so you can get that information. We also have the Big Ben Hospice. They have a training where they have a virtual dementia tour, stimulation tour, so that you can actually go through this tour and be able to see what it's like to live, as someone, see what it's like, those that you're, caring for who have dementia. You can see what it's like, right? Not for yourself, but I think that it helps people to understand better how to care for them, as well as to understand, the caregivers and what they're dealing with. And so we have all of that, a great lineup of people that'll be there. And because we have to start not just preaching the word. We need the word, and the word is what it is, but we also need to make sure that our churches are knowledgeable, because we have a lot of people that sit in the pews or in the seats with us every Sunday or whatever time you go to church. And these people are dealing with this, but we have no knowledge about it. And so, if we can get our pastors and the members to not that knowledge, we can't fight right if we don't know what we're fighting against. Right. And the only way for us to do that, get the tools that's necessary so that as you fight, you get the tools so you can help, you can win that fight. And so that's what this conference is all about. And I want to say one last thing, Pastor Judy. I want to go a little bit back just a little bit, because I told Kaylin this morning, and I tell her all the time, Kaylin is my hero, y'all. Kaylin really is. We had a situation last night that happened, very first time ever that happened. And I'm not going to go into graphic details, but it was a first. And I think what always has brought joy to my heart is the fact that I've never had to ask Kaylin to help me. Never. I've never forced her, something. And I've done my best to make sure that she maintains whatever she wants to do. But we had a situation last night it was different. And to see Kaylin literally jump into action and say, Mommy, I'll take care of that. and it was that, right? And so that always does my heart good, because honestly, I don't even know. And I say it to her all the time. And I tell people, I don't know if I could have done and been in this role and all of this without Kaylin's help. And last night, had Kaylin not been here, I don't even know what that would have looked like. And of course, call your Gmail, please call your Gmail, because I need a little bit more help as well. But just to see her jump into action and say, Mommy, I'll take care of that. Take care of Granny, get that. I mean, and we often reverse roles. So we were switching, doing things, but it's the teamwork in it. And you don't, as you said earlier, you don't find this with young people often at all. And so I just wanted to publicly say thank you. She was at the hospital. They had to be the most uncomfortable seats ever at the hospital, but she stuck it out, and we did that. So that's what caring is all about. And we want you to come, because we have that caregivers panel. Nicole Everett, Conversations with Nicole, is going to moderate the caregivers panel. We're going to have some caregivers on there, and then we also have Lady Felicia Allen. She's a grief counselor. She's going to be a part of the panel. She's going to give some information regarding grief. We have mental health counselor that's going to be on this panel as well, because we want to give us all the help that we can get, in our community.
And so I really want you all to register. Okay, the registration is only $15, I believe.
Yes.
$15 per person. $15. Okay, $15. And then for a whole church of 10. Am I correct? Correct? $125?
Yes, ma'am.
$125 for a church to send 10 people there. Just a church to send 10 people there, $125. You can't beat it. So let's go.
It includes lunch. It includes lunch. I said that includes lunch and respite care. So if you're caring for somebody, you want to come, but you may not have anywhere for them to go, we'll have on-site respite care. You can bring your loved one with you.
Wow. And if you feel like being generous or asking people, if you know somebody who's a caregiver, you can sponsor them to attend the event and pay the $15 so that they can come as well and get that information. So as many people as we can get to register, we really want people to be there, and we want you to get this information because it is so important. It's so vital to just the future of where we're going. Our world's already in a lot of places right now, and to be able to combat this, especially with our healthcare systems, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, because they don't have that much information, and you need to always be equipped in the event you do go to the hospital or you do have to advocate for your loved one. Because I'll just say, it's not always the greatest experience if you're not knowledgeable and you're not able to.
Right. That's right. And just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean you don't need the knowledge. Get the knowledge.
Yeah, and sometimes y'all, just like red lights, I look at Priscilla and Kaylin, and I look at Tanya and Kiera, Marcella and Danette. And Danette is just she everybody help
No
her.
words.
But I look at what y'all do, and there's sometimes this is what I said. You all wasn't knowledgeable until it happened to
Right.
you all. So now you all get to help all of us. So when it happened, when and if it happened, on whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's one of the other dementias, or whether it really is old age, or whether we just can't, we never know what life's gonna do. But to have people who have been there to come and help us and give us the knowledge prior to experiencing anything, help us go through better. So I want to thank you all for what all you have done, what all you have given in the way of serving your family, but the community, even helping to get bills passed in our legislature, and we want to thank you all for all that you do. So ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to end this, the conference is June 22nd at New Destiny, at Destiny Church, Tallahassee. Okay, go ahead and register. You can get the information here. We'll make sure that it's on my page. It's on
You
there.
can go to www.kaylinscaringconnection.com. It'll pop up as soon as you click on the page, and so it'll be either on my website or my mom's website, but it'll pop up. And like she said, we'll be posting it on our social media platforms. So if you all can just share it even if you cannot attend, we really want to get it out there.
Yeah, and so y'all go ahead and attend. Listen, see how I want to do this. If you are a youth caregiver, I see how to do this, but I'm going to sponsor 10, but I got to see how we're going to do it. So we'll know, when I come back to you and tell you how we'll talk with Judy. Got to sponsor 10 people to go to the Real Talk, our conference. All right. Priscilla, John Lewis, Kayla, John Lewis, thank you all so very much. I just wanted to wait. Y'all was ready to give them everything. No, they got to come and get it. All right. I want them to come and get the rest of the information. But thank you all for being two powerful women. We pray great success on what you all are doing. We pray that the blessings and favor of God will forever rest upon you all. And maybe y'all go somewhere. I could come and sit. You know I can't, Priscilla. I think we sit for an hour or two.
And we appreciate it. We appreciate you and Pastor and all the support that you all give. You know, I mean, all of this definitely ties back into ministry. The fact that, you know, we're all changing lives for the cause of Christ.
And to all of those who tuned in today, thank you all so very much. Again, Ms. Brenda, thank you for everything. Mama, Tanya, Carolyn, the family, thank y'all for listening. And to everybody all over the world, just know that this is Real Talk with Judy. And I really want you all to take care of yourself. Let's take care of our bodies. All right? And perhaps we can prevent some diseases coming to us. That's Real Talk.
Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with